forum for the public to provide input into decision or bring other matters to our attention. If a member of the public does want to provide input, please talk to staff and we will help you. Now, just before we carry on, I'd just like to thank councillors who have put their names down for the committees and other things. They've gone through the process and done, but don't hesitate if you want to put your name down. It's not onerous. You don't have to give everything that you've done since you were 5 years old. Just say I'm interested. So thanks to the people who have done that so far. I've got a couple of apologies. Jake's online. Tyrone is for lateness, and Sam is a total apology because he's shot over to the coast for the day, but he'll be back tonight. So that's all cool. So now we just get on to the next annual plan workshop, which is Bede, Peter and Paul. Fire away, gentlemen. Very good to see you.
Atamario, your worship and councillors, thank you very much. So in the sequence of workshops that we're doing at the moment, this one here is really about right-sizing the delivery and the budgets of the capital program for the annual plan, and we've spent some time looking to do that, and we want to share with you the work we've done and get input as to the next steps. So with that, I'll hand over to Paul to work you through the program.
Thank you. Good morning. So yeah, work through the capital program, looking at where we are at the moment and where we are looking to head to. So just quickly revisiting what we did last week in terms of where we are at the moment. So effectively what we can see here is that the first three bars are what we've delivered in the last 3 years. The next two bars are current year, and in the red is the current and proposed budgets for 2027, or the annual plan as we're speaking about. So the current budget in 2027 is sitting at $778.8 million. That is after the 2026 annual plan was approved and the carry forwards from 2025. So approximately $50 million of 2025 budget carry forwards went into 27. We are currently proposing a budget of 586.2 for 27, and that includes $42 million for the activated sludge at the treatment plant. The average spend for the last 3 years has been around that $490 million mark. And the current forecast for this year that we're in now is somewhere between $500 and $510 million. Just in terms of process, so basically the heads of service and their teams have had a look at their programs, worked through looking at projects and where they are in their current life cycle, and working out where they think they will be in terms of delivery going forward. So it's about understanding the current position of a project. Obviously, if it's in construction now, it's a whole lot easier because we have some timeframes and some dollars attached to it that we know has been negotiated with third party. But anything prior to that is a number of assumptions on how long it's going to take to do any consultation, how long is it going to take for any consenting, what sort of time period have we got for design, how much time will we need for procurement to get it to market, get response from market, and get a contract awarded. So all of those are assumptions that we have to make on all those projects that haven't started yet. And of course, the other factor is around the spend of the budget for a project. Basically, those first parts of the program or project, you only spend about 15% of your total budget. The construction tends to spend about 80% of the budget, and the final 5% is the wrap up at the end. So effectively, the real key for budget phasing is when is the construction going to start, because that's when the real money starts burning in terms of spending the budget. So it's about understanding those projects that haven't started yet, when are they likely to start, and then trying to align the budget with that start date. But as I say, there are a large number of assumptions baked into that. So invariably, some of them will be right and some of them will be wrong. But that's where what we've done. So heads of service and their teams have gone through that process, looking at where projects are at in the life cycle, and made some assumptions and estimates on when things will start, and therefore that's part of why a number of these budgets are moved around to align with that work program. So that's where we are at the moment. How does that look? So the proposed program, looking at the projects and which activities do they sit in, you can see generally the areas at the top part of the graph there are relatively stable over the last few years. A lot of the movement is in the water space, which is the 4 areas at the bottom of the graph. That's where we've got probably the biggest increase in program and in effective spend. The other factor is that effectively we've got a cumulative inflation of about 7%. So effectively, if you look at our delivery of 490-ish, that with the inflation, that takes us to in $27 to somewhere around about $515, $520, with just the inflation without any other change. So that's roughly where that would sit. So significant increases: water supply is up 55%, wastewater 124, stormwater 94, and transport somewhere around about 15, half of which approximately is inflation anyway. So that's sort of where they sit and the different things. So what we want to work through today is each of those major activities, look at what is there now, what the proposed changes are, and what does it mean for the overall program. And just in terms of rates and rates increases, effectively these proposed changes aren't currently baked in, and we'll look for a steer of the overall quantum in terms of looking at if what we've done is about right in your opinion or not. Have we got the numbers sort of in the right ballpark? But if we then factor in these changes to the program, we will add or reduce the rates by 0.7%. So that's not currently, so that's how we got from the 9.2 that was talked about last week down to the 8.6. It includes a 0.7 that we're talking about now in terms of capital program adjustments. So starting off with transport. So what does the profile for transport look like? So currently they have, or the proposed current budget for 2027, 175 or 174.8. Proposed after changes bring it down to 140.7, and their average spend over the last 3 years has been about 136 or thereabouts. So certainly achievable in terms of past performance and in terms of where we're looking to go in terms of going forward. In terms of what areas are we delivering or what type of work is happening in terms of renewals versus growth versus improved level of service. This just to get an idea of the renewals components of the various programs, and we'll have a look at each program or activity in this sort of fashion going forward. So effectively a good nearly 2/3 of their program is renewals and growth, and another bit of their program is the improved level of service. The bulge for improved level of service going forward is around cycleways particularly, is driving most of that bulge in the improved level of service. The other thing I didn't really talk about, but effectively we know that the rephasing we've done for the annual plan does not address all the issues that we need to look at for the LTP. We still have some large numbers in those outer years that we need to address as part of the LTP, but that's for the LTP, not today. So from an annual plan point of view. So that's where the percentages for the different parts of the program sit. What sort of things are being delivered in the 2027 year? So these are just the key projects or key things that are being delivered out of the program. So I'm not going to go through them all, but the big one is obviously carriageway reseals. 33 million of the program is reseals, plus a number of other renewals. So those are some of the key projects that will be delivered as part of that $140 million. Changes and proposed changes. So how did we get from the number we had down to the 140? These are the key changes. So you can just see there's some rephasing around the carriageway reseals. So just changing some of the chip seal into asphalt and road rehabs. The $1 million that's sitting there that looks like a reduction in the footpath program is not an overall reduction in the footpath program. That has just been allocated to projects that aren't there. After the workshop, we will distribute full schedules of all of the changes. We're just looking at the top 10 here, just to give you a flavour of the sorts of things we've done. Often these are significant changes that have the biggest impact on the program and the changes that have been proposed. But these are the biggest ones, and yeah, there'll be full schedules distributed after the meeting, so you can see line by line every change that's been made. But those are the major changes in terms of transport. I'm happy to take questions at the end of each activity if that's easier. So it keeps it in context with where we're at and what we're looking at.
Yeah, so we might do that because otherwise, I don't want everyone to.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Tyler, Nathaniel, Mark. Cal.
Couple of quick ones, guys. The first one was wondering how the heads of service scope these capital projects from a risk versus reward point of view. For example, if we're pushing out, do they know how much extra it's going to cost us within that financial year that we're pushing out to?
Well, we've got cost estimates on all our projects, and effectively that's what the inflation adjustment is or isn't doing at a corporate level. So when we move projects, we often think of it as base dollars or uninflated values, and shift the uninflated values and get the corporate inflation rate on top of it, included in that new. So when we shift it, and then we use the inflation rates to inflate it.
So the proposed new budgets for the 27-28 include the corporate inflation rate?
Correct, yes. So all of these rates that we're looking at are inflated based on the financial numbers around inflation.
No.
Yeah, Bill. So, yeah.
The next I've quickly got is around the carriageway reseals, the chip seal.
Yep.
Could you please talk a little bit more about that?
The carriageway reseal. New technology, sorry. And the carriageway reseal, we are proposing to shift money around in our resealing program. So the $14 million there that's coming out of chip seal is going into rehabs and asphalt. So it's shifting it around to address the need across the city. We've got a bigger need for rehabs than we've been able to address in the last couple of years. So we're trying to bump that up. But you also saw that we had quite a lot, 33 million in our total resealing, which includes the three. It's asphalt, chip seal, and rehabs. So this is the first. Next year is the first year where we've got actually a lot more. So our contractors are ramping up to do a lot more next year to really start hitting the poor quality streets across the city.
Excuse me for being frank, but is that for patchwork?
No.
Cool.
No, that is rehabs are the big outs.
Yep.
Where the structure of the street has failed, so we've got to dig it out, rebuild that structure, and then put the surface on. There's a lot more in there to address the older asphalt streets that are coming to the end of their life, and a lot more to address. And there's still enough in there to do a lot of chip seal, because chip seal money goes a long way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Yeah, on the deferral of some of the cycleway stuff, that's mostly around those Kiwi Rail crossings. Is that right?
No, the cycleways are the three remaining cycle routes.
I'm talking about the last one there, the Hathcote Expressway route.
That's Scrutton's crossing.
Yeah, so is that going to be something we have to kind of renegotiate with Kiwi Rail to delay that, or is that just fully in our own?
We're not delaying it. What we're doing is shifting the budgets to where we think it's going to be working, given the conversations that we've had with Kiwi Rail.
Okay, so that's all. Yeah, thanks.
Mark.
Thank you. And I'm picking the South Express line there is pretty much the same. It's a Kiwi Rail timing push out.
Yes.
Yep. And I'm interested to know whether through this process we'll get the opportunity to sit down with you and your team to perhaps work through some of the key projects in our areas to just keep an eye on them and whether they're being, scheduled as likely to happen.
I presume we can do that. Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Mel?
We will, sorry, Councillor Peters, through the chair. We are actually looking to do the roadshows again with each of the boards. So actually it's your boards that we'll work with to work through the key projects.
Thank you.
The key projects add to the 60 million. What's the other 80?
Sorry. So
You said that the transport budget is 140 for next year. This is the key projects at 60. So what is the other 80 million?
the normal renewals and other bits of the program. And I mean, that's what you'll see when we distribute the schedules. You can see every line item, but it was just trying to highlight the key things that are being delivered.
So are there proposed changes to the budget for those other items?
Yes, there could be, yes, but they will be a lower value. These are the top 10 in each area that are of change.
Right.
So these are the key changes or the biggest changes rather than every change.
Vic?
Thanks, Paul. I'm keen to understand what's the decision matrix that the staff use to make these change proposals? What is it that led into it?
Well, one of the questions, what has always been about the deliverability and of the capital program, and can we deliver and spend the value that we have? Can we spend what we've got in the program, and can we deliver the projects? So that was part of it. So it was part of a request from Finance and Performance to actually do this review in time for the annual plan. And so then each of the heads of service look at their total program, look at how that sits with where they're at, what they need to deliver, what the priorities are in terms of that program, and then look at the phasing of it.
The comment that Lynette made around the roadshow with checking in with the local boards for their priorities, just to make sure that there's no inconsistency. Is that going to happen before the annual plan?
Yes, so it's happening with Parks already. Parks is already doing that, and Transport is looking to do that as well.
Okay, and then the final question, I just wanted you to repeat if you could. I didn't quite understand what you said in the delivery package and the new footpaths. I didn't understand what you said there. Thanks.
There is a project that money is going to. It's not on the schedule.
Bottom line of the program, it hasn't come out of the program. It's been drawn down into a delivery package and to deliver.
So there's not a net reduction in the footpath program overall.
Great, thank you. Pauline?
My question as well, but I still don't understand it, because it looks in here like we've lost $1 million out of it.
Out of that line item, but there is another line item, as I say, there's a schedule with every project on it that we didn't want to put here.
Okay.
That has the $1 million going effectively back in to get net nil on the footpath program.
All right. It's just quite an important one, seeing as how we've done all that priority work. So thank you.
Kel? Kelly? I thought you had your hand up. Okay, Andre.
Thank you. Could we maybe get a memo on the path program budget outlining that? That possibly useful. The asphalt, does that include those rejuvenation treatments?
Generally, the resurfacing program, it's not just asphalt that includes rejuvenation treatments, but yes, there will be areas where we use rejuvenation treatments where it's an appropriate treatment.
Yeah, nice one. I've found them to be really good. No, thank you.
Beauty, Aaron?
Yeah, so a couple. It's a huge amount of money that we're spending every year. Have we spoke to the contractors and asked them how they can deliver more for less? Like, if we had that conversation where they come back and go, well, if you just did it this and this, we can get it down. Like, do we have those conversations?
Yes, we do. But we are in a yes, we do. And we are in a contractual situation as well. So, but we're working with them all the time to try and deliver differently and better to get more done for the dollars. So all of those.
Does it never seem to swing in our favour yet with them on the checkbook?
Well, recent tenders have swung in our favour.
Good. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Some updates on those, even if it's
recent tenders have swung in our favour. Yeah. Those are our surfacing program is delivered through our maintenance contracts, and those rates are consistently lower than any other contracts that we have.
Okay, and then the other one, and it might sound a little old school, But I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, council did all the roads themselves. It was all in-house, and people used to complain about council workers leaning on shovels and stuff. They just now it's contractors leaning on shovels, but still the same outcome. The any councils delivering their road networks themselves? Any in the whole 67 across the country?
I personally don't know of any that are delivering them in-house.
Right. And if they are they getting better mileage than us or not, would be the question.
It'd be a difficult question given the amount of plant and material and.
Yeah. Well, there's one recently in Christchurch that
leverage.
sold for a song. Would have been the time to we were ever getting back into it. But
Thanks.
Okay, but how do we progress that, or at least find out if any councils are and if it's working for them or not? Because it might be something we don't look at. But
I'm going up to the industry conference next week, so I can ask around.
Oh, that'd be really good. Just yeah, and it might come back with a hard no or a maybe or whatever. But let's ask. Thank you.
Come back in a few weeks.
Yeah, Annie, please.
Thank you. Are you able to give us a sense of the trends in terms of the cost of bitumen and what that's doing?
Oh, not today, and not off the top of my head. That would be a really dangerous one, but bitumen costs are going up.
So yeah, in the past we've been kind of given at F&P like a kind of overview of some of the key trends of around what's leading to cost escalation, and I'm pretty sure bitumen was one of the ones that was flagged previously.
Be here, I might I'll talk to Luke and the team and we'll see what we can provide on some trends.
Yeah, we can provide that. I mean, that's subject to things like oil prices and so on, and the way the companies we engage contract with hedge and so on. So there's a bit to that.
Okay, but it'd be quite I know Waka Kotahi put out a regular bulletin around the adjustment pricing for bitumen as well. So it'd be quite good just to get an understanding of what's happened, particularly from when we sold off the bitumen plant that we owned to what the pricing has done regionally. I just had questions around the program. So the road pavement rehabilitations, is there a project list of what roads are included in that we can see?
No. So we've currently got this year's list, and we're working through the next 3 years list to inform this and the next. But it is this road rehab is purely based on this condition and issues identified, and it's very, very closely linked to the NZTA requirements for what we do.
Right. It's just that in the past, like we've been. When we went to the Smart Cities program, we were given some technology that had ranked certain roads, like Ferry Road has been one of the worst. I understand that technology, I think we were then advised that wasn't accurate and there'd be a revised update to the condition assessments. But I'm just trying to understand at what point will we be able to look within the budget and do the additions or subtractions based on the local feedback from boards and local knowledge that we have.
So Councillor, you'll remember from our feedback to the boards, the surfacing program and the rehab program are the ones that are really the non-negotiables. They're the ones that we come in and say, these are purely condition-based, they meet NZTA requirements. It's your street renewal program that we can have a conversation about. They're different. This is the rehabs is not the street renewal program. So the rehabs and the surfacing are very much condition-based, very much meet NZTA requirements, and very much impact our ability to leverage our maintenance, ops and renewals money, the 300 million we're getting over the 3 years from NZTA. And if we don't meet their rules for doing that, we put at risk the whole of that pot. So we're very tight on that one and why we do what we do. We will give you the list, but it isn't a negotiation for in and out because it is purely condition based. So it is data based.
Thank you, Lynette. Great answer.
Hang on, just one more question. So just in regards to the key projects that you've listed, are there any changes to those around timing and budget? Because the problem I've got when we see that slide, it doesn't capture the quantum that's put on budget for each of those projects. And I get it, you're only talking about for this.
That's just the budget for next year, yes. And once we distribute the schedules, you'll be able to see all the all
All
of
the
the
others.
detail for all of these projects.
Thank you. That's great. And lastly, David, because we need to move on to the next grouping. Fire away, mate.
Brilliant, thank you. Just following on from Aaron's point earlier and around the contractors and trying to get the wins, are we, and I'm making the assumption we are, looking at timeframes so that extending the length of the day that the works can, instead of being an 8-hour day, you know, they try and work for 12 hours, 14 hours, you know, so there's less disruption on our roads?
All of that comes down to contractors and their times, but we always talk to them. Oh, is that one? Sorry. We always talk to them. Our contractors aim to do things as quickly as they can because everyone makes money the sooner they get off the roads.
Sorry, but are we leading it from ourselves around the contract that we want the timeframes to be as quick as possible? I.e.,
we are saying as quick as possible, but it has to work with, because there's health and safety issues.
Yep.
Actually, a person can't legally work a 14 to 15-hour day and be safe.
I appreciate that, but they can have 2 shifts.
Yep.
Are we driving it from your team?
Yes.
To make
We are asking them to do them as quickly as possible.
Second question is, Glendover Road, everybody around the table here will know about the issues where one department's not talking to the other. Are we proactively ensuring that all that maintenance work and all the other work that we do, that we talk to the power companies, the waterworks and all those sort of things and get those sorted?
Yes,
so
we are talking to them.
So we have confidence for the next 3 years that we're not going to have any stuff ups like Glendover Road?
No, I don't.
Absolutely. You don't have confidence?
No, because we cannot guarantee that an emergency is not going to happen or
emergencies and
something. Well, so we are doing everything we can to align our works. We are working really closely with Gavin and his team to align the works. We cannot require other authorities and third parties to do work ahead of us. Often that involves for them asset write-off. So it's an additional cost, or they don't have the money for it. We can't require them to do it. If the road is failing, we may need to do the work earlier than expected. So we work through all of those factors and we talk to everyone and we do our best to make sure it doesn't happen.
Councillor, both Three Waters and Transport are taking on full-time schedulers to minimise the risk of any of that. So that's something that we haven't had full-time staff position in the past. So they are working with.
And there'll be a level of accountability with that?
Mean by that they are accountable every month into F&P. So there is a level of accountability. They're accountable in the annual report and also against the LTP levels of service. So I'm not quite sure what other accountability you're thinking of.
And just ensuring that the questions are asked around those external delivery items that might be required, that if they haven't asked the question or if they've failed to ask the question, I guess, in those attempts, or they've not looked into the servicing that may or may not be required, if that's a fault on behalf of somebody here, that there's some accountability to it.
Well, that's about HR management as opposed to governance.
So we're comfortable in that process?
Through PDPs and regular one-on-ones with staff. So we actually, our staff do have levels of service they have to meet. They do have performance development plans, and that's all part of the process.
Raising the point. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, I didn't see Celeste's hand up.
Thank you. The toughest job at council, I think. Just the around the sort of shuffling budgets, which I think you explained well. Will the schedules show that it might have moved from this budget to that budget, for instance? So will we be able to see the switch? Because sometimes when you look at the line item, you can't see that it hasn't been a cut, it's been a transfer of funds. So for instance, if we're looking at doing instead of chip seals, asphalt, for example, will we be able to see that when you provide the schedules?
It might be that we have to provide a summary of why the key.
Maybe not everything, just a couple of
some of the key ones.
Some of the key ones, yes.
And just the final one is, I'm sure there's, will we understand what the reasoning is behind that? For instance, if we're looking, we have a lot of streets that do need, some sort of resurfacing or rehab, but costs have gone up, say 50% as they seem to have with rehabs. How far is our money stretching? So if we're doing asphalt versus chip seal, are we able to sort of see per year what we're able to deliver in terms of resurfacing and so forth?
What we'll be looking to do through the roadshow process is talk to the quantum that we're looking to do and how that's increasing.
That'd be great.
Okay, so we can do it that way.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Three Waters. So how does the current Three Waters program look and where are we heading? So currently the budget for 27 for Three Waters in total, and we'll look at these in terms of each water in a minute, but starting with just overall Three Waters program, current budget 390.1, proposed to be 273.5, and the average spend in the last 3 years has been somewhere around about the 177, 180 mark. This 2027, so the 273 that we're talking about for proposed budget includes the $42 million for the activated sludge at the treatment plant. And just in terms of how that looks in terms of the drivers of their program, you can see a large chunk of the 2027 program for Three Waters is renewals and growth. There is some improved level of service, but a big percentage of it is actually the renewals program and to accommodate growth in terms of city growth. So if we then just look at the individual waters separately to have an idea of how that fits together, in terms of wastewater, the current budget's 175.7 million and the proposed budget's 134.7, with an average spend of 57.8 historically, or somewhere around about there. What are we looking to do in the wastewater space? Probably a little bit even more marked in terms of where that sits, is hugely in terms of renewals, a large chunk of renewals in that space. And if we look at the key projects here, we can see actually there's 3 projects particularly driving most of the wastewater program. So we've got $42 million for the treatment plant, activated sludge plant. We've got Selwyn Street Pump Station, which is another 23 million, and in Grasmere wet weather storage at 11. So we've got $6 million of their total program is just in those 3 projects alone for the 2027 year. So that's the key projects, and then the normal renewals, just wastewater reticulation, again is another 31 million on top of that. So that's just the core part of the renewals program.
And that's sort of along the lines of the absolutely knackered brick barrel sewer in Fitzgerald Ave, I assume.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so ready for do you want questions on those 2 now, or do you want to keep going?
Happy. Do you want to do all waters together? Or
Yeah,
do all waters together?
carry on. 3.
So I'll work through all the water, 3 different waters, and then we can do all water together. Yep. So just working through just some of the top 10 changes of the program. So just looking there to see where a lot of the changes happened. But again, a lot of it is just trying to rephase and plan the renewals program largely in the wastewater space. If we then look at the water supply, so effectively currently water supply budget 112, looking to go down to 79 million, average spend of 62. Similar scenario here. In the water supply space is a huge chunk of the program is trying to get on top of the renewals and growth of the program and getting that work delivered. So again, key part of that actually is the water mains renewals program, $48.3 million of work there. And then there's a couple of other smaller projects that are of importance, but yeah, most of it is trying to get the water main renewal work completed. So a big chunk of it is there. And again, some of the key changes there in terms of rephasing. We have not taken any money out of any of the program, water or any of the other parts of the capital program. It's all being rephased. There's no reduction overall of the program in terms of what we've done here to try and get a deliverable program. And then just looking at stormwater and flood protection, similar profile again, 102 current budget, currently proposing to bring it down to about $60 million. Average spend is somewhere in that realm historically as well. So very much in line with the historical spend. This area is where we have more in terms of improved level of service, and a large chunk of that grey space is OARC. That takes up a very large part of that improved level of service. Key projects that are being delivered in the stormwater flood protection for next year or for 27 is the Addington Brook and the surface flooding reduction, and a couple of other projects, including some of the OARC work there at $3 million for the stop bank at Waitaki. So that's the key projects in that space, and these are some of the changes that we've made in terms of rephasing some of the program to try and understand and make it a little bit more deliverable. I don't want to run through those projects one by one, but happy to look at any questions around the Three Waters side of the program.
Okay, ready for questions on water, Victoria?
Thank you, Paul. In relation to the wastewater on page 15, notwithstanding that proposed reduction shown for 2027, there's still a really huge delta between what we're actually achieving and have achieved in the last 3 years and what we're proposing. It's really significant, and I'm keen to understand how we're actually going to do that, and what can you tell us to give us the confidence that we can do that?
As Paul pointed out, there's 3 key projects that form 76 million capital next year. That's the aggravated sludge, the sewer and pump station, and Grassmere storage tanks. So out of those 3 projects, they are the sewer and pump station is currently in early contract engagement. The Grassmere project is out for tender. The aggravated sludge, we are confident that we will award the tender within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So they will be in construction. So we're confident based on the work we've looked at, the numbers we've looked at, that we'll have that 76 million spend next year.
So do you anticipate when the tenders actually come in, there'll be further information that may feed back into that in terms of telling you whether it's actually achievable? Because at the moment it seems to be a bit of a second guess if you haven't quite got all the information in from the contractors yet.
No, we do a lot of work before it goes to market, and that's engaging contractors, engaging different parties to understand what the spend will be. There is a risk that it'll come in and it will be higher or could be lower, but we are reasonably confident the numbers we have are at the midpoint.
And so what's the process and system we've got in place if it turns out that we're not going to achieve that? At what point do you review these proposals?
So some of the projects, for example, activated sludge, we'll have a very good idea in the next 2 months where the numbers will be actually sitting. So there's opportunity to make the changes. But through the whole program, we've taken a conservative approach that in a case where we have a reduction in spend in one area, we can make it up in another area. So the overall reduction, which I think was in the order of 100 million that we've reduced. Yeah, so we are, if, for example, if the activated sludge was to come in and be spending 4 million less, we're confident that in the overall program, we can make that up through the year.
Okay, thank you. Mel.
So for the stormwater flood prevention, does that include that 20 million that Pauline got on the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
that includes the surface flooding?
Yeah.
Yes, surface flooding.
So we're essentially doing, well, we didn't have that pot, would we still be doing that work anyway? Like, it looks a bit.
The surface.
Otherwise, it would just be a $40 million budget, I presume you'd be bringing to us, but I don't think it would. So it sort of seems a bit like we're using this fund we've created to then not do other stuff we were planning on doing, maybe. I don't know.
No, the service flood reduction program, we've brought additional resources in to deliver that program, so it's not impacting.
Right. So if we're putting in additional resources, you're saying that if we didn't have we hadn't put that money on, you'd be coming to us with 40 million for this year. for the next year.
But stormwater, yes, there will be something like that. Yep.
Right? No?
Sorry, no, I'm taking it.
okay.
I've got another
Yes.
question.
Yes, it would be a lot less
You'd be going way below what we've been doing previously.
potentially. But we would be looking at overall resource and what we can do, because in terms of looking at the current resources we have, it's about what we can deliver, and that if we weren't delivering that surface flooding program, then we would be looking to deliver other work. Yes.
Right, so that's
Yes.
replacing other stuff we would have been doing.
Potentially some, yes.
Okay, and then the other bigger question is, if you look, probably not the stormwater, but like say water and the wastewater graphs, the projections for the future were to have a big increase this year and then to drop down over following years. But now we're saying, well, we're going to drop it down now and have a huge increase in future years because we're rephasing and not changing the amount of money we're spending in the program. But the reality is, and we all know this every single year, we rephase out every year. You tell us the exact same thing. And the reality is we're just deferring, which is fine. Why don't we just call it a deferral? Because we're not going to do those huge numbers in 28 and 29 because we're going to go through this process next year. So why don't we just be realistic and say what we're actually planning to do? Because how are you going to ramp it up next year if you can't do it this year compared to last year?
That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying?
Yes, and that was
Why are we calling it rephasing when we actually just deferring?
or deferring.
Well, why don't we just say that and make the budget in the future less if that's what we can achieve? I don't understand this because it's sort of fudging the issue to make us feel comfortable when actually we're not going to do what you're telling us.
But that's part of an LTP process. We haven't got the opportunity in an annual plan to rephase the whole 10 years. So as part of the annual plan process, we look at the year we're looking at, 27 in this instance, and try and understand how can we get a program to deliver in 2027. When we bring back the capital program for the LTP, the primary goal there will be to have a 10-year deliverable program, which means we're going to have to pull down 28, 29, 30, and possibly even more, and possibly push it right out. Some of it may be even outside the 10 years.
That's right. So
Depending on
where did we go wrong in the last LTP then that we had to do these massive changes?
I mean, I guess we were over ambitious in terms of what we could deliver.
Yep, good answer. Who we got? Yanni, please.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm looking at the reduction in 8 million for the activated sludge plant. I've reread the F&P finance performance and briefing notes that we've had on the most recent activated sludge report. We were told that the project is on time and on budget, but I can't understand why we're deferring $8 million of funding if that's the case.
So the
just to repeat, in the reporting that we've had, we've been told that the project is on time and on budget. So I just heard someone say timing, but all the information that we've had. Thank you.
The project is on time and on budget. The reason for the reduction of 8 million is because of the information we have at hand to understand what the cost of the project will be and the duration of the project. So our estimates is that it'll be a 42 million spend next year on that information, but it's not impacting the program.
And so the contract hasn't been signed yet?
No, it hasn't.
No, I said that before.
So,
2 months.
So in the past, when I've sought advice, I've been told we won't have a time frame until the contract has been awarded, but it hasn't been awarded. So I'm trying to understand why we're making budget changes ahead of the contract being awarded.
Well, for the activated sludge project, it's a significant project. We've put a lot of resources into it to understand the cost that the project will fall, the cost of construction. We've done a lot of work looking at the program to understand the spend profile before we went to market. We've now received information from the market, which has led us to reduce that down to 42 million. Now, when we do engage a contractor, there might be further information that comes out of it, but we feel the 42 million is in the right space It could be slightly more, could be slightly less once we do sign a contract. Now, when we sign the contract, we're then relying on the contractor's program to outline their spend rate. But at the moment, we feel pretty comfortable that we have a good understanding of what that spend rate will be next year.
Thank you, mate.
I think we could, I think we've been through this a number of times of actually outlining that we get more and more precise as the project goes on in terms of deliverability and funding. But we could walk through that again with you if it's still not clear. We've been through the different phases of capital projects, how and when we get more precise. But repeating to you that we don't know things right up front, that actually things get more precise, but we will bring back another presentation if that's still not clear.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I also know that from the regular reporting that we've had, we've been told it's on track and on time and on budget.
Yes, it is.
And yet, sorry, if you look at the milestones that were on our website that were revised, we missed some of the key milestones around design, around site establishment. Okay, well, I can give you a copy of what was online, and I can give you a copy of the revised ones. We were supposed to award the contract in August, and what month is it now?
The long and short of it is, staff have been working with a number of.
Sorry, just to be clear though, I was told that what I said was incorrect. Can someone tell me what the milestone was for awarding?
It is on time and on budget. We just heard it.
We missed the milestone for awarding the contract.
Okay, Pauline.
The Grasmere, stormwater basins and that, won't we recoup that money from DCs?
And it also had third-party funding as well.
Yes.
So we have had third-party funding for the Grasmeres.
So that would really effectively not really have a rate impact? How do we explain that? Or, I mean, I know you'll be dealing with it behind the scenes, but we need to figure out here.
Through you, what we're really doing is showing you the cost of the project and how it aligns with the delivery, and not so much actually how it's financed, whether it's financed by rates or in the case of Grasmere, there's external funding, 20 odd.
I think it's getting close to 30 in total.
So it's not, so we're showing here what the cost of the project is and the delivery rather than how it's financed.
Right, but do we front fund that and then recoup it later? Do you know?
No, not the Grasmere one, I don't think.
Council, for the Grasmere one, there's a funding through the National Infrastructure Fund, and there's a number of parts of the project delivered by the developer and some by us, and there's reporting goes back regularly and claims go into that fund. Yeah.
Aaron, please.
Yeah, a stormwater question, just on our long-term planning. Do we ever revisit the tidal gates in the estuary into the cost of our 50 to 100 year plan, and also factoring in that when that was last written off, that we had different climate change modelling or sea level rise modelling, which has changed, and tsunami modelling's changed as well in that time?
We have not revisited the tidal gates for the work we're doing currently, but that question has been asked recently.
It has been?
Correct.
So do we because it's been asked, is it?
Well, staff are going to have a meeting to look into it, and we'll come back to the person that's asked that question. So we'll review whether there's any benefit in revisiting the tidal gates.
Okay, and then if we are looking at that, someone raised with me recently, if we had the tidal gates, we then had the option to have a permanent flat water facility in the estuary. They hadn't looked at the ecological side of that, but potentially that from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m, the estuary can have water, because you can control the water in the estuary with that. So that would give us the flat water facility many have wanted in Christchurch as well. So just if in your pros and cons column, just back of the envelope stuff, but it would be good to know if that's included. Thank you.
Yeah. Tyrone, please, and then we'll move on to the next.
Thank you. So just looking at the overall capital program for Three Waters. So the 2026 number of 0.25, 250 million. the budget. If I was to, we haven't had an F&P meeting for quite some time, so we haven't had a chance to sort of see how we're tracking in this financial year. Are we on track to hit that number of 250 million for 26? You know,
We currently,
can we get that? Can we get a view of that dashboard before F&P?
the current forecast for Three Waters at the moment is around 227 to 230, just under 230.
Right.
Yep.
Where are we year to date? Do you know, at the end of October? Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot.
So what in terms of, yeah, that's the forecast now.
That's the
Annual forecast.
The annual forecast
for Three Waters.
Yeah.
Yep.
And but year to date, do we know where we're at? Or would it be possible just to get that chart sort of before F&P for Three Waters, the capital, you know, the one that we get in the F&P?
Yeah.
It would just be quite helpful.
Yes.
Because I'll have a hell of a lot more confidence in the 27 number if I knew the 26 number was on.
Yeah,
track.
we're currently forecast about 90, sitting at about 91% of budget for Three Waters.
Okay, thank you. Carry on, gentlemen. Parks.
So in terms of the parks program, so currently current proposed program for parks is at 99.1, proposing to change that to 89, so defer, rephase something like $10 million. In terms of where we've been in the past, so the average spend is somewhere around about 66 odd million, and been consistently ramping up over the last 3 years. And so effectively the 2025 number or spend there at 85 is very similar to the proposed number in 2027. There are some key projects in the park space, one of them being Akaroa Wharf, which is sitting at $16 odd million, which we'll have a look in a minute. But again, the profile of in terms of drivers, what's driving the parks program is, so again, probably a little bit more in terms of improved level of service in this space. But again, there is still a significant amount of spend in terms of renewals and growth. And the key projects that we're sitting at for 2027 is the $16.8 million for Akaroa Wharf. And then 8.2 is the OARC work that's happening through there. And then just a few other projects of note that are happening in the next fund and 2027 year. And the proposed changes, this is the 10 million we talked about, was around Canterbury Provincial Chambers. So there isn't 10, there's only 3 projects that are really moving, is the Canterbury Provincial Chambers, the Cars Reserve, and the South Shore and New Brighton Estuary Edge projects are just rephasing or deferring some of the budget in terms of those projects. So that's in terms of what's happening in terms of the park space. So
any questions on parks? Celeste, please.
This is more of just a question for anyone watching. So in terms of specific projects on that list, say the Estuary Edge,
yes,
that's just being realigned based upon the deliverability, when you can deliver it?
Yes. Yeah, that one. That's the one.
But if, for instance, the consent's approved this year, which is what we're expecting,
yes,
and then the work was to begin towards the end of the year, we could bring full budget to deliver that faster.
Correct.
So it's just moving it out.
At this stage, yes, because we've got, obviously hopefully we get a decision before Christmas in terms of the consent, and then we can move on. But at the moment, that project has been stalled, particularly around the consenting issues. And obviously the commission a decision, hopefully it comes up. But yeah, we've still got $1.8 million on budget for 2027 year. And effectively, if we can do more work than 1.8 million, we will bring that $1 million forward if we needed to.
So it won't be slowing it down.
It won't be slowing it down. It's just where we think it will land, given the current timeframes that we're looking at.
Sorry, I just misheard. Which project is that, Celeste?
It's the South Shore.
I heard this story last Christmas. So between then and now, the only money that's been spent is ECAN taking far longer to get it through. Do we actually pay for the amount of time that they are spending on it? Do we get a bill for that?
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay, it'd be interesting to know what that is. So thank you very much. Carry on. It won't be in a budget. Sorry, Andre and then Aaron.
Thank you. I've just actually sent a question through. It'd be quite good to get an update on the Cars Reserve Club relocation and what's going on. But I've sent it through, so I don't need an answer now.
Thanks, man. Aaron.
Thank
you. Two quick questions. So the estuary edge, what's the hold up on the consent?
They found some grass that only gets planted at 3 o'clock in the morning on a full moon. I'm serious. It more or less has come down to that. Yeah.
Right. So with the fast track changes the government's been making, why can we not pull that lever on this one?
Unfortunately, I can't answer the fast track question. It is around ecological significance around that area with the consenting, working with EPN to make sure that we're covering all bases. But this won't be affected by fast track. We are the schedule to start the hearings on 8th of December this year. So we're progressing.
Right. So just loosely speaking, does the project has to happen? So the consenting process holds it up, so increase the flood risk, but does not change the environmental outcome anyway, because our staff will take the best care of the environment they possibly can as they do the work. So what's the point?
Sounds simple, doesn't it? But yes,
most things are that get complicated.
I guess we're just working together to make sure everything is covered off to the best of its ability from our point of view and from ECAN. So we've got, everyone's on the same page.
Thank goodness for the Indigenous vegetation land change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor, submissions have closed, but it was a fully notified consent by ECAN, and that's what's caused a little bit of delay.
Ben? So sorry. When it's submissions, yada yada yada, commissions, all that sort of thing, we'll pay for all that as well out of the money that.
Yes, we will have. Yes.
Just here's a little fun fact for you. Just interesting. Of any, okay, do you know that CIAL have spent 700 grand moving lizards from out of underneath the solar farm? We spend more on moving lizards than we do on homeless people. This is disgusting. Carry on, please.
So is that a commitment? Is that a commitment to spend 700,000 at least more on homelessness in the next annual plan? That's good. I'm glad. I'll keep you to that.
Carry on with other activities, please.
Yes. So other activities. So just wrapping up all the other activities into one grouping. So this includes art gallery, libraries, community development, community facilities, emergency management, rec and sport, community housing, digital facilities, property planning, regulatory compliance, solid waste, and resource recovery. So there's a huge amount of activities included in this grouping. I haven't really looked at what the average spend is for that reason of the nature of this grouping. It is somewhat irrelevant in terms of what we spent historically, because in some of those areas we've had some major facilities built, and so that does not give you a good average spend in terms of what's happened historically. So it's more about what are we looking to do in this area. So at the moment we've got a current budget of 114 and we're proposing 82.8. In terms of where does that sit in terms of driver, again, significantly it's about renewals, a little bit of growth, but majority of the work is in the renewal space. What are some of the key projects that are factored into here? So we've got the Jelly Park renewal and cycle shutdown at 15.3 million, which is the major project for rec and sport next year. The end of or finish of the Amokahi South Library replacement, and then some of the other normal BAU part of the program for housing, somewhere just under 6 million. The digital equipment and infrastructure to support council activities at 4.2, and the Shirley Community Centre at 2.8 are just some of the key projects that are sitting within those activities, but quite a variety of activities and different work being completed in that space. These are some of the projects that have been rephased. So the top one, I just want to point out the organics processing facility. Yes, it says minus $15 million. We are not not going ahead with that work. What happens is from an accounting treatment, we don't own the facility, so therefore it can't be part of the capital program. We're just transferring that $15 million into capital grants. So it's still on budget within council, it's just not on the capital budget. So just wanted to be clear that that work is not being deferred or not being removed. It's just how we fund it from an accounting treatment.
You're just trying to head off a potential question. I can see where you're coming.
No, not at all.
Carry on. Is there any is that the last?
Yes,
sorry.
that's all for that one. Yep.
Okay.
One. So any of those.
Any questions on other, Andrew?
Yeah, that list had social housing renewals on there.
Yes.
Well, I thought that's ring fence and not. I thought everything on here is rates.
No, this is the total capital
Just
program.
Jobs.
Total
Jobs.
capital
Okay,
program.
cool.
Yep. So we spend 5 to 6 million
That's fine.
every year on social housing replacement renewals.
Okay. Carry on, please.
Okay.
Sorry, have you got just a question?
Did you have a question, Yanni?
Yeah,
far away.
I was just wondering, do you know where the budget sits for the Phillipstown Community Centre that we put on?
Not off the top of my head, but it is still there, I know, and it's sitting, I think, in 29 or 30, but don't quote me on that. I think it's 28. It's still in the 10 years, definitely. Yeah.
And has there been any consideration to bringing that forward, given the recent developments?
Not that I'm aware of.
A report's coming to council about that this before Christmas.
Cool.
Okay.
Not particularly.
Right, but the whole, yep. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Right. Just a couple of financial assumptions I just want to point out, and particularly once the schedules are circulated, you'll note that there's quite a lot of red on the schedules in terms of looks like reductions. What we've got with the inflation assumptions going forward is inflation is effectively coming down. So the assumptions we made when we did the annual plan and LTP had higher inflation assumptions than are currently in the program and that we're using. So effectively, what you would normally see is those two lines round the other way, is that usually inflation going forward is higher than it is currently in terms of assumptions. So effectively, I just wanted to point out that the cumulative effect of inflation going forward has a negative impact effectively on the capital program. So just when you look at the schedules, you'll see a number of particularly programs in the outer years with a reduction in the total dollar value. That's around the inflation assumptions that we have and with reducing rates of inflation going forward or being factored in. So I just wanted to point that out because it's in some areas you'll notice quite a difference. And the final one is just a revision is in terms of capital, $112 million is what gives you the a 1% rates reduction and therefore about a quarter of that or 0.27 is in year one and the balance of it is in year two. So most of the impact of any changes in the capital program hit year two rather than year one in terms of rating impact. And then just work through process and next steps. Peter.
Okay, we've got two, Tyler and then Pauline, Vic and then Pauline.
Thanks for raising that, guys. The question I've got is, how can we differentiate between the inflationary changes in comparison to cuts or deferrals that the staff have made?
Generally, when you're looking at the schedules, you'll see a red and a green box because we just color code the change.
Yeah.
And so on the one line, you'd see a minus, for example, and a plus going back in. So you'd see a red and green. Very rarely is the change less than the inflation adjustment. So they are pretty obvious when you look at it. What we were showing on those slides is effectively what will be on the schedules.
Okay, so it'd be a 1 or 2% drop within.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's relatively easy to see because usually when it's a deferral, you can see the plus and the minus.
I see. Okay.
There's a plus and a minus on the same line.
So for the capital project that we're referring to, if there is an inflationary differential,
yes,
it'll just be one red
number generally. Okay. Yes, yep. There'll be no green sitting on that line, and if it's just a straight red reduction, it'll be an inflation adjustment.
Great, thank you. So you've made no cuts, just deferrals, so you'll be able to see regardless.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, there's no cuts.
Vic?
That was my question, thanks.
Okay, Pauline.
Oh, you just on the inflation, just want if you could explain that. So we use the Burrell figure.
Yes.
And looking at the briefing we had the other day, that we use 3.1% for OPEX and 3.4 for CAPEX.
Yes.
But is that just for like the percentage of our work that's like construction and, you know, concrete and steel, which has a higher inflation rate than your CPI, and therefore we balance it out at 2.9? Is that what we do?
Well, it's different for each year. So the assumed rates are different each year. So these are the assumed rates year on year going forward.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why we use a figure of 2.96 when Burrell is 3.1 and 3.4. And I wondered if it was because we.
Sorry, Councillor, to confirm, is the 2.96% you're saying from the rate slide that we presented the other day?
Yep.
So that 2.96% is the rates impact of inflation. So not all costs in council incur inflation. For example, not all grants are increased for inflation, so there's no rates impact of them.
Yep.
And some items, very rarely, we don't inflate for other reasons, so that can pull that number back a bit. There's also the impact of the different funding methods. So of course, when we borrow for money, you're getting some of the inflation of the prior year impacting the current year's rates.
Yeah. It's so complicated, isn't it? It's so complicated. I wouldn't like your job. In saying that though, we might want to have a look back, because I think we did try and inflation proof the community grants at some point, and we wanted them increased by 2% year on year. Can someone please find out where that resolution went and whether it has
applied?
Yes, the strengthening community fund grants are inflation protected by 2% per year. We don't classify that as inflation when we do our calculations. We treat that as a baseline increase.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much. That's great.
Tyrone, did you wave at me or were you just, no, that's cool. That brings us to the end. Pete, do you want to?
Yeah, just quickly, there's a bit of process stuff here, and it's kind of important for you as councillors as well as for staff. Quickly, I'd like to just acknowledge Paul and PMO. That movement of nearly 200 million is for deliverability is a big thing. But I do acknowledge that we need a big look at the overall capital program and the LTP. For now, the focus is just the annual plan year and getting to the annual plan. So to frame up next steps, last week and this week was largely about intelligence for you on our current financial position, rates, capital. We don't need answers to questions now, but next week, that 19th of November, I believe it is, the free range session to explain that. That'll be minimal staff, minimal PowerPoints. It'll be about taking the information you've been given and working together to figure out what you want to do, how you want to work together, what your priorities are. Questions like, is the overall quantum of the capital program about right? If it is, it becomes a lot easier to figure out the tuning of what's in and what's out. But if you don't know the size and what's in, what's out, it gets a bit harder. What kind of annual plan do you want to build? How do you want to consult on it? Because you might remember the choices from very light to medium to quite heavy. So there'll be more to come on the agenda, but next week is quite a big chunk of time and mainly about you being able to work together on that. Then the runway starts to get a little shorter. We've got 3 workshops, 27th, 4th, 9th. And then the timings after that, adopt in sort of mid-February, do consultation through March. Those timings you will know. Most of you have done these a lot before. That can be compressed. We can go later, but the consequence of that is pressure on staff and pressure on you to do back to back to back to back kind of stuff. So we're trying to do it in a more measured way, which means, as always, finishing for the Christmas shutdown with consensus, ideally, consensus on what you want us to build. So that's why it's got key milestone there for that mid-December. So that's the process, and a bit of a heads up about what free range day means. As I said, minimal staff in the room, no death by PowerPoint, but the information you've got, what would you like us to do is the questions we'll be asking at the end of the day. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Pete, and it's good that we've got to listen to what you're saying, because if we do as much work as we can now before Christmas, otherwise we're going to paint ourselves into a corner and be not in a good place next year.
Absolutely correct, and noting also that the LTP needs to kick off early next year as well. If we run late on the annual plan, you can see what happens, the dominoes start to fall.
And it's all very well for us to all bugger off on about the 20th and then leave staff sort of wondering what the hell we're going to do, and make it difficult for you guys. So I appreciate what you're saying.
Always good to know where the goalposts are.
Absolutely. Celeste, you got a question there, mate?
Thank you. That's helpful. With the free range sessions, is there going to be an opportunity, say, if we wanted to sit down with staff and sort of get into a little bit more detail? Because it means that at these meetings we don't have to sort of ask those specific questions. But say we want to know a bit more, say, about a specific transport project. Would there be an opportunity in one of those sessions to kind of, or any project, parks or whatever, someone?
Potentially, if people indicated what they wanted to know, we could see whether we could have a drop-in or one-on-one session about those particular things, but we'd need to know in advance so we get the right people there.
Thank you, because I recall last time we did the transport drop-ins, and that actually was quite a useful way to scoop up a lot of the more detailed questions that end up here otherwise. Thanks.
Kelly, then Yanni.
Thanks, Peter. So just to be clear, at this stage, the rates for next year look like being a 9% increase. That's correct, right? 9.2? Well,
8.6.
Well, yeah. So if we were to decide that we wanted to reduce CapEx by, say, 16 mil, which is effectively a 2% reduction in rates for next year, that would be considered a cataclysmic event, essentially, and potentially. Sorry? Yeah. Oh, is it 16? Is that? No. It's 8.3%.
No, that's OPEX.
OPEX, sorry. Did I
8.3
say
million,
CapEx?
yeah.
So
it's 112 for CapEx.
Yeah, sorry. So for OPEX, if we were to try and do something like that to reduce the rates burden by 2%, would that effectively be a cataclysmic event that would trigger an LTP?
It would depend where you find the 2% from. If it's from significant levels of service in significant activities, it will trigger significant LTP amendment. If it's found from other sources, it doesn't.
And what would those other sources be?
Well, I think staff are preparing some options for you there. I don't want to just shoot off the hip on what they might look like, especially given that you haven't had a chance to discuss them among yourselves.
But potentially it's possible, what you're saying.
Through you, what we do is we'll bring back the operational budget, because there's a number of movers, because not every adjustment, if you take something like transport, you've got NZTA funding, assistance, you've got fees and charges, so there's a few levers that we have to think about what would move, so on. But a 2% rate drop does, at a very sort of general level, signal a bit over $16 million, either in other revenue or reduced expenditure.
Excellent, thank you,
buddy. Yeah, Yanni.
Thank you. Is it possible to please get a copy of the CPMS sheets as a PDF? I find this information very helpful. I know in the past we've been referred to use the bubble tool, but I have found examples where the line item in a bubble tool doesn't give adequate understanding of what the project is. And in fact, the money has been reallocated to other things that may not have been aware of what was said on the bubble tool.
No, we don't have the resource to be able to produce those. What we're also looking to do is update the bubble tool or the OrbViz tool to be able to have more information like you're requesting, and also to make it exportable. So hopefully that will it will sort some of the questions that are. So effectively, we would put that information into the bubble tool, and it would be there will be a function where you can export that data if you wanted to.
So when are we likely to get that? Because it does seem a bit of a disconnect between us understanding what the scope of the line items are and the timing versus what's currently available.
We had hoped to have it available that would be distributed today, but probably within a week. Hopefully, with a bit of luck, we might get it out tomorrow.
Right. So have a look at that, and then if that's okay. Yep. And the other question I had is there an annual plan tracker, because we've passed a number of resolutions to get information back that we still haven't had any visibility of. So I think there was some information about the bus exchange. I think there was some information about green turning arrows. I know there was information about the homelessness. I'm just wondering how we get visibility ahead of the free for all session of the outstanding actions in the annual plan and the information that was required that's either ready or not ready.
The intention was to bring all the outstanding actions back for the free range session. Right. So anything that was resolved upon to be carried forward into this annual plan and where it's at and what's happened with it.
So just to be clear, the information in terms of needing to make decisions to put something into the draft annual plan will be presented, or will simply be given a status whether it's been reported back or whether it is going to be reported back?
I can't speak to every item in that database off the top of my head. All I can say is that we will intend to bring back to you what we have as information.
Thank you. Victoria, please.
Thank you. This is supplementary to Councillor Barber's questions and the answers you gave about the options for OPEX reduction. Staff are working on that at the moment. Will we have that before us in time for our free range session next week?
I think through you, I think the intention was to bring that back as part of the budget for you and work through the operational budgets and what makes them up and the drivers and so on. I think for us to try and present that information would be quite challenging in time for the free range session, which is next week.
Yeah, I just wonder in terms of facilitating that free range session better. We don't know what we don't know. And if staff are already working on some of these things, we could spend hours talking about it when it's already in hand. So is the timing of the free range session in the right place for the most efficient use of our time with the information available?
Let's clarify that this is what the council and the council table has asked for time and time again. Can you have your session up front before anything else? So we're responding to the request that has come in time and time again this time. So usually we've had a bit more information than the free range. We've been asked, actually, could we have this free range session early? So,
Andre, please.
My question was actually just asked. So could we maybe get another free range session after we've got our OPEX options, maybe?
Okay.
Thank you.
Timothy?
Yeah, with that free range session and the presentation that was given to us on the 6th of November with regards to investing in Christchurch's iconic heritage, could that be kind of workshopped with its actual cost to an effect on rates if we looked at it? Because we get a lot of information from a lot of different groups, and it seems sometimes it's hard for you guys us to take on where does that sit in our vision for the annual plan and in the future long-term plan. And I'd like to see that, because it's really easy for this stuff to be dropped on us, but we've got to look at how it's paid for, and I think that part's missing for me.
Yeah, but through you, I think that we understood that the free range session really was about getting your input and feedback, and we would take that and then bring back some advice on that, and that would be when we would present the option.
So I could bring,
yeah.
So I could add this in the free range.
That's exactly right, okay. And then ask for us to bring it back and say, here are the options for finance.
Yep, thank you.
Good-io. And Aaron, please. And lastly, Aaron.
Yeah, so that's good, because mine are very basic questions but extremely complicated. Of the 10% rates increase we're staring at the moment, what percentage of that is OPEX and what percentage is CAPEX?
Of the increase, Yeah, that's really, we're still working through, and I think if I just gave you an answer, I've got some time with officers in the next few days where we're going to actually go through the budget. So I don't want to be sort of appearing opaque, but I haven't got an answer, and it could be a little bit speculative for me to just put it out there.
Okay, then the other one is, when did OPEX get up to the 8.6%?
Oh, 8 million for one.
Yeah, 8 million, sorry.
Yeah, so as a 1% mover. Yeah, so it, well, at the last annual plan, I suppose we collected about $837 million. So what we're trying to do is frame for you that if for every 1% movement, that's what it equates to in rates. So,
But it used to be a lot different number.
oh yeah, it's every year.
It used to be 3, and then it was 4, and then it was 5,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Well,
now we're at 8.5.
yes, because every year that's the rates go up, then the number itself moves up. So in 2024, I think it was 770, so it was about 7.7 million, and then we moved it up. So each year the rates go up, then the 1% becomes a bigger number.
Okay.
No, that's good as gold. Thank you very much, guys. And as we've all just come out of a election cycle, we know that we've had it quietly hammered to us on just about every corner or forum thing we went to about the everyone's in a cost of living crisis. So this is how we can, we've got to think how hard we want to do something. So I'm really looking forward to the next couple of days, and especially when Melanie brings along her free range chickens. So yeah, that's right. So looking forward to it. So thank you very much, gents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good work.